What is up, y'all, and welcome to The Real Ray. If you are noticing that our background is different, you would be correct. Today I decided to take over the wax room at work and get a little filming done. Welcome to my film studio at work. Today we're gonna start a little sub-series within our Bleach series, and I'm gonna be talking about bleach and foils and color and foils, but mainly bleach. Today's video, we're going to talk about why we use foils, and I'm going to give you some tips on how to actually apply the color or bleach inside a foil, whether you're trying to go to the root or just hand paint it. And then in the part 2 of this little video mini series, I am actually going to grab Susan, and we are going to do the same thing we did when we applied the all over bleach to her head, and we're going to do it in foils, using 5, 10, 20, 30, and 40 volume, so that you can see the difference and really how much lift you can get from a lower volume, letting it sit a little bit longer. And then we'll be doing round 2 of toning on her with the same ones we used to get out a little bit of that orange previously. Something that I don't think I've done an adequate job of explaining in previous videos is about mannequin hair. Mannequin hair does not respond as well as hair on a human head to color, bleach, and toners, because it has been chemically lifted, and she's not nice and warm heating that color or lighten her up. So anyway, I just wanted to go ahead and say that because I don't think I have done a great job at explaining that prior. Getting started, why do we use foils? So there's 2 reasons we put color or bleach inside of a foil. The first one is to keep the hairs within the foil separated from the rest of the hair, so it doesn't bleed and mush all over, right? So you have a really defined highlight or low light or whatever you're trying to do. Second reason we use foils is that the hair inside of the foil is the foil's like a little incubator, and so it's keeping those hairs nice and warm, and it's getting that color, that bleach really processing, and it helps it to work a little bit better. That's why you would use a foil. What this means is that when you are using bleach specifically versus color inside of a foil, that you can normally use a lower volume developer inside the foil versus just putting it directly on your hair, because it's staying warm and moist, and it's just gonna lift better. For at-home use, if you are putting foils in your own head, my number 1 suggestion would be to just stick with foils around your face and maybe up to here. As you start trying to add them to the back, you can't really get in, you can't see what you're doing very well, and the angles aren't quite right. You're more likely to get a bleed back here than you would in the front, and then that's just not going to be cute. So my suggestion for that is just stick with around your face and keep it simple. You may be wondering what a bleed is. So when bleach processes and gets warm, it expands. And so what will happen in these foils is that it will expand out, and it'll come out and create these nice little orange dots on either side of the foil where it's seeping into the hairs around it that it's not supposed to be getting on, right? Another reason that you can get a bleed is if you're moving the foils around too much, or if you've applied the bleach too close to your root in the first place. To prevent that, I would say number 1, once you get your foils in and folded, don't move them around. Just leave them be until it's time to check them to make sure that they are ready to be rinsed. And number 2, in the beginning, when you're getting more comfortable foiling your own head, or if you're doing it on somebody else, getting comfortable with foiling their hair, I would say stay a 1/2 inch to a 1/4 inch away from the top part of the foil. That way it gives you just a little bit more leeway as it's expanding. That way it won't expand out of the foil, and you won't get those yucky little dots. Okay, so let's talk about foils now. So this is the giant box of foils we use. We do not use Reynolds wrap, right? Okay, when you take them out, they're big giant sheets. The best way to handle this is to get a few of them, fold them together, then you'll want to fold them over, put them on the edge of something, and and then just kind of like start tearing. Once you have your foils cut, is what we call it, even though they're technically torn. You use scissors, what happens is they end up like sticking together and it's fussier to use. I think the easiest way to use them is to go ahead and pre-fold them. Some people like to fold as they go. It's just like whatever is easiest. Okay, so now that we have talked about foils and how to tear them, let me show you how to lay your foils and teach you a couple of key terms. We've got Susan here. The first thing you need to know is about how much hair to use. The less amount of hair you use, the lighter the hair is gonna get. So the bigger the chunk, the harder it is gonna be for like the bleach to do its job. So when in doubt, use a smaller amount, right? So we're gonna take this little section and do like a nice little line across. So I think about this much is a good amount to use. Let's see. And so what this little section I have in my hand here is a slice. Another thing to think about, so when you have your foiling comb, you kind of want to hold it like a pencil. So get your foiling comb, do your little baby section, hold it with your fingers and get your piece of foil. Put the pointy end inside the bend. Take your thumb and push it down. And you're gonna want to hold her hair or your hair really tight. Put the foil at the base of the head. You can either do flap up or you can do flap down. I learned flap up in school, and so that's what's always been the most comfortable for me. Hold it firmly against your or her head, depending on if you're doing it on your own head. And then just kind of take your fingers and smush it down and see how like firmly I'm holding it there. I'll continue to hold my foiling comb because that's also what I learned, but that may be hard for you. If you need to put it down, that's fine. Then get your product, and if you're still holding both, you'll just kind of have your comb in the nook between your thumb and finger, and then hold your brush like a pencil still. So the easiest way then is to kind of like smush the color onto the hair, and then as you're doing that, you're gonna put your other hand up underneath the foil and kind of like push pressure with your bottom hand into the foil while pushing down into the hair and the foil with your brush. You definitely need some more product, so we'll scoop a little bit more and go ahead and saturate the ends really well. Now, if your hair or her hair, whoever's hair is too long to, like it comes outside of the foil, what you'll do is get that hair and flip it onto the other hair and smush that way on top of it, so it's just folded over. And now what we're gonna do, we're gonna go up a little bit higher and kind of get a little closer to the root. I think about there is an appropriate amount, especially just as you're learning. But then if you wanna get like a little extra so that you don't have such a harsh line, turn your brush sideways and do that same motion where you're pushing kind of against with the bottom hand and down with the brush, and just kind of feather it up a little bit. Once your product is applied, you're gonna take your fingers, bend the foil, and get your comb and put your hand up underneath the bent foil, smush down, and then take the comb side, the little teeth, and press into the side while your thumb is coming up and over, and then press flat. And do the same on the other side. So teeth down as your fingers are coming up, and then smush down flat. Ta-da! So that is your first foil. Congratulations. For the next one, I'm gonna show you how to do a little weave. We are about to do a weave on Miss Susan, and not adding hair, but like a foil weave. What that means is, remember, we're holding this like a pencil, so let's take our little slicey, like we just did a minute ago. It's like a nice thin slice, right? What we're going to do is just pick little pieces out of that slice. So now, instead of being a whole slice, it's like a little weavy friend. Again, holding the hair with my left hand or your non-dominant hand, comb in the right, put the pointy end into the bend, all the way up to the scalp, pressing firmly, and then pull the hair down and kind of like press it down to the round of the head. Get your brush with your bleach and push down into the hair. And go ahead and make sure the ends are all the way saturated. And then if you want to be fancy, turn your little brush around and kind of whisk a little bit more of that up to the top. Then we will take our fingers and bend to the top. Hand underneath the foil, gently pressing, teeth down, thumb over, teeth down, fingers over. Voila. The next thing I want to show you how to do just real quick is if you wanted to like hand paint a piece so it's not like all the way up to the root, you'll want to do that at an angle. So I'm going to show you how to do that real quick. Y'all, if you have any questions, make sure and leave them in the comments below. Also, if you haven't already subscribed, please help me to grow my channel by doing that. And if you're enjoying this video, make sure and hit that like button. All right, let's get back to it. Okay, so if you're wanting to hand paint, go ahead and get your section, and it can be a little bit larger for this, and really this would be a fine amount of hair too for just like a regular foil. Since we're not planning on going to the root, we no longer have to put the pointy end through here. If you want to, you can, or you can just place the hair gently on top, hand still goes underneath. And instead of just going like super straight and flat, what we're gonna do is we're gonna turn our brush at an angle and kind of do like a little diagonal. So if you want to do one diagonal like that, you can. You can also kind of do like a V, where at each end of the slice, it goes a little bit higher and then goes down to that point right there. The important part is to make sure it's saturated and that like when you go to fold this, you're not folding this part with product on top of this part that doesn't have product. So you have to be a little bit more intentional about it. So kind of like fold it like this, halfway, and then you can fold these sides in. Or if you're worried about that or you have longer hair and that's just not an option, what you can do is go ahead and get another foil and smush it on top of it and then fold it that way. Okay, so I want to give you just like a couple more little tips real quick before we finish up. When you go to check your foils, remember that what you put on there is white, so it's gonna look lighter than it actually is. So my advice when you go to check it is to just get like a towel and gently wipe off some of the product so you can see if it is all the way lifted to your desired level. And if it's not, just reapply a little bit more product where you wiped that bleach off. Additionally, remember it is not safe to lift your hair beyond like a light pale yellow. And if you're wanting something brighter and not yellowy, that's why we have toners. And just remember the color wheel, right? So if we've got a yellow we're trying to eliminate, we're gonna need something violet, and we've got something orange, we're gonna need something more blue to help reduce that. Toners are literally meant to help you get the desired look that you want, which is much safer than lifting it beyond that pale yellow. And if you're lifting it beyond that, you are like basically ruining your hair cuticle to where it's not gonna want to accept color in the future, and it's gonna be harder to style and it's not gonna be pretty. So just please trust me on this one. Don't overlift it. All right, y'all, that concludes my part one of my two-part foil bleach series. Check out the next one where I am going to be foiling the rest of Susan's hair in a variety of different volumes mixed with bleach and see how she turns out. And then after that, we are going to retone her with the same toners we used previous, which are the Wella Color Charm Tea toners, which, as I told you in my previous video, are actually meant for pale yellow hair, so we can see how they work out when they are put on the appropriate hair level and hair tone. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know in the comments below what sort of questions you have or struggles so that I can help to address those. And I will see your beautiful faces so soon. It's the real Ray. Bye.